Welcome to NICU Stories. Hey, NICU Story followers. Welcome to another episode of NICU Stories. Today, we are continuing the March for Dads, and we're actually going a little over past March, but we don't care because we do what we want to do, right? That's our business, in the words of Tabitha Brown. And today we have a wonderful guest with us. We have Ryan Vincent Ford with us. Hey, Ryan.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, I'm excellent. So I'm so excited to have Ryan on because his beautiful wife, Ebony Ford, was actually with us when NICU Stories first began on Facebook. So she was actually with us on Facebook. And if you want to check out her side of the story, definitely go to NICU Stories on Facebook and you'll be able to hear Ebony's side, the mama side of
Mm.
Rain's story. So welcome, Ryan. I want to hear all about Rain's story from your perspective. Well, just your journey, period, because you guys have an amazing story. So I want to hear it all.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you very much for having me on board. You know, I'm extremely supportive of my wife and her passion and what she enjoys doing in terms of advocacy for maternal health. And so I'm literally just always in the background, just pushing her, go, 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 go. so, so I do consider it an honor and a privilege to even be asked to do this. And it is um, quite an honor. I say that for reasons being is because you don't hear a lot of men speak about their experiences in the NICU. You know, a lot of us men, we're just strong and that's it.
Right,
we're
right,
just, you know, we're just there, we're present, you know, we do what we can and we tend to suffer in silence
right.
from pain and trauma, you know, during the journey or what have you. So thank you so much for this opportunity. This is actually healing and freeing for me. Um,
Good. I love to hear that. And I think it is for a lot of men because men usually do bottle stuff up, right?
mhm.
And I feel like a lot of the fathers that we had on the show previously, they are saying exactly what you're saying. It's helping them be more vocal about how they feel and be more in tune about their emotions and be also more present when they're going through certain situations in life and really analyze or pay attention to certain things that they feel. So I'm so
Mm.
glad that you said that.
Well, thank you. So Rain's story, let me just preface by saying Rain was quite the surprise. My wife and I, we had incurred several different traumas in our marriage as it relates to, you know, having a stillborn and then having miscarriages following that.
Do you
And we
want
had
to
just
talk
gotten,
about that before talking about rain?
oh, sure. Well, so,
Definitely talk
and
about
I'm,
that. You know why? Because there's a lot of fathers who go through that and
mhm.
they suppress those feelings. They never talk about the loss. They never talk about miscarriages. So I want to hear your side of that story as well.
Okay. So, and long story short, the first year of our marriage was, you know, I always say it all the time, quote unquote, hell on wheels. Not because it wasn't great, but it
The
was
roller
a
coaster.
ride. It was quite a ride.
Hmm.
Um, so we had gotten married and, you know, had no problem getting pregnant, only to have a stillborn baby at 8 months, which
Wow.
was completely new to me. First of all, marriage was completely new to me. So, you know, you're walking in with an open mind and then you're struck with tragedy.
Right, right.
And it was just really, really, really brand new. So I was like, okay, well, you know, I don't know anything else except I'm hurting, but we're gonna get through this.
Right.
And then on the heels of that, we find out that she's pregnant again
Hmm.
and we're like, okay, well, you know, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. There's always a rainbow after every storm. And then we had a miscarriage at 17 weeks, all within a year's time of us being married. And I'm just like, yo, what just happened?
Right.
What just happened? And we got, you know, we got married young, but that really doesn't I remember saying to somebody that because we got married young, that didn't mean that we were necessarily immature. And it certainly didn't mean that we wouldn't have any issues or problems. The common misconception is that, you know, women that are young really won't have any issues bearing children.
It's true.
And so the first year of our marriage was filled with a lot of questions. More so, speaking from the male perspective, I know for us as men, we don't really like a whole lot of confusion. We like to have a grip on things. We like to, be in control to a certain extent,
Right.
know what's coming, know what's going, so that we can, remain a pillar. But at this point in my life, I was just like, I don't know what's what. And happy anniversary. It was just really confusing. Like,
Right, right.
yeah, we made it 1 year. Okay. Thanks being the God. We made it through with our right minds. But what just happened? Like the last 12 months? Like, what is going on? So,
Like a
you know,
whirlwind of things.
yeah. So, we're navigating through our marriage and just trying to figure stuff out. And what we couldn't figure out, we chose to just reconcile. My wife and I, we have a very strong relationship with God, and He is in the center of our marriage. And so, we just chose to reconcile some things that we didn't quite understand, and just decided to, keep it moving, and whatever happens, happens, and we just gonna get through it together. So, time goes on, and we're about three years into our marriage, and my wife gets pregnant with twin boys and surprises me on a Sunday morning after I got done preaching on Father's Day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, oh, thanks being to God, I'll get you double for your trouble. So that was just my whole kick. I was like, God, you really did it this time. All right, goodness. I'm so grateful. And then our happy reality got shattered at 21 weeks when neither of the boys made it, due to something called twin-to-twin transfusion, where I had identical twin boys. And I was so excited. Oh my God, I just knew they were going to both look like me, and we was just going to conquer my whole house. We was just going to drive my wife crazy. Yeah, you don't have just one Ryan. You got three of them now.
Got three.
So, was very much looking forward to driving her crazy in a good way. But at 21 weeks, one of them just was not growing as much as it needed to, and unfortunately, he passed away, and it compromised the other one's health, and it just, neither one of them made it. And so at that point, to be truthfully honest, and I tell everybody this, and I don't want anybody to be caught off guard, because I do have a strong relationship with God, and I understand that I'm a son and He's my father, but I got really angry with God at that time. Now I'm a man on I'm big on faith.
Mm-hmm.
Faith is the centerpiece of my life.
But
So
you're
at that
doing
point,
it.
yeah, I got very, very, very angry with God. I was like, now wait a minute. I'm doing all of this. I'm doing all of that. I'm serving you with every bit that I have. I'm loving my wife. I'm loving my family. I am doing the absolute best that I can to try to live a life that would reflect you directly.
Right.
And all of this happens in like a span of 3 or 4 years. Like, whoa, you got to tell me something, because there's just no way in the world that I'm going to want to try this again after all of this heartbreak.
Right.
So,
And the twins, this was your third pregnancy now.
third pregnancy.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And there's something extremely traumatic. And this is the part, I think this is the part that's freeing for me, because I don't talk about it much at all. But there's something especially traumatic about making 3 public pregnancy announcements and receiving quite a bit of attention. Not that we asked for it, but there were people that, that
just love you.
we just had a village that just love us, and they wanted the best for us. They believed in our union, and believe in our relationship, and believe in our marriage. And I'm a gospel recording artist, so I already have eyes on me. So just receiving all of this love and support, only to have to retract all 3. Now the third one, we just decided, you know what, we're not even gonna say nothing, because I can't even, like, I'm literally on a thin thread of my sanity, and maybe a few minutes away from snapped. I don't need to say nothing
You
because it's
felt
just not
humiliated.
going to be good. Yes. And that type of humiliation and embarrassment, I still cannot, and it's been some years, but I still cannot find a word to summarize the pain and the trauma associated with that.
Right, right.
So, um, I held on to
Now,
my wife.
why would you feel, what made you feel humiliated thinking that people were judging your marriage or judging your union or just thought on that kind of
Absolutely.
feeling? Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it had, it's the unknown that scares me.
Yeah.
Um, I could hear people saying, well, you guys are young, y'all can try again. And I could also hear people saying, well, she can't give you children. Well, what's going on here?
Yeah, I hate
But
that.
I could also hear what wasn't being said.
Right, right, right.
And that literally just
Adds to
ate
it.
away at my confidence as a husband, a man. And if it ate away at me, I can only imagine the damage it did to my wife's emotional state and mental state.
Because this is
And
what we're
so,
created to do, give birth to babies. We're supposed to birth babies because to create humans.
yeah,
It shouldn't be
yeah.
this complicated.
And I think what was even more painful was just really kind of getting like halfway answers um from the doctors, like, okay, well, this happened, well, that happened, but you're not fully explaining to me like how this like really could have happened so we could kind of narrow down or narrow in on something and really, but the doctors do the best that they can. They really
Right,
do the
right.
best they can. I really think that I was searching for answers that I probably was never really going to get, which was
Okay.
like the why, like
Which is the unfortunate
seriously,
part.
why. And so, as I was saying before, I my wife and I, we drew close to each other because at this point it literally felt like the world was on top of us. And it wasn't, any one particular incident, but like I said, the pain and the trauma and the embarrassment and the humiliation associated with having to make public announcemements and then having to retract
Right,
and or act like you just didn't do it.
right, right.
Um, it was just really, really painful. But with God's help, we were kind of able to work through that, really lean on each other. And throughout all of the tragedy, I'm happy to say that my wife and I, we stuck together. We stuck through it. Now we had
I
some
love it.
moments where we was just like, why don't you just go find you, you know,
I
just
can
just
imagine. Yeah.
just go ahead because it's not, it's not going to happen. But I'm so glad that she and I were able to really be the. Now my wife and I, when we got married, we were like the best of friends, but through those trying times we literally became best friends, and we were there for each other when nobody else was. So,
Mhm.
having to traverse through all of that tragedy and stuff, we resolved and ascribed to the idea, let's just enjoy our marriage. We ain't got no children.
Mm.
Now we have 4 angel babies, and there's just no way in the world that we could ever forget about them.
Right, right, right.
We know every last one of their names. We know when they were supposed to be born. We know what happened, and we remember certain things of when they were in the womb and how they responded to certain things. I still remember certain cravings that she had when she was
Mhm.
pregnant with them.
You remember that? I love that. That's
Yeah,
so
it was just
interesting, those
it's
little details.
it's just hard to forget. Like it's just
Yeah.
hard to forget because those were moments that I felt the proudest, like, oh my gosh, I'm about to be a dad. And
Oh,
then, to turn around and have that not become a reality, it was just really
right,
hard.
right.
But we winded up resolving to the the idea, let's just enjoy our marriage. It will happen when it's supposed to.
Right,
And
right.
our prayer was, God, don't let this happen for us and it not
Happen.
fully
Right,
manifest,
right,
because
right.
we can't take any more heartache. We
That's a
can't
lot.
take any more embarrassment.
You said you
Um,
were young. How old were you guys going through this? the first time anyway.
The first time we were 26.
Oh yeah, that's young.
26, literally still trying to figure this world out.
Right.
And
And
then
then you're
on top of
newlyweds
that,
too.
yeah, like
Oh.
within our first year, I literally was like, maybe we need some counseling for this reason because
Right, right.
fine, like we were, newlyweds, and I was explaining to somebody else the first year of marriage, first 2 years of marriage, literally like you experience a season of wedded bliss, and it is absolutely amazing. And while our relationship experienced that, we had these tragedies that we had to try to navigate, and it was just I don't think that you could have written a manual for me to
You
try to
you
navigate that kind
can.
of grief.
You write your own manual as you go.
Listen, and trying to figure it out on your own, and still
Right.
having to try to explain to family and friends like what happened, how you're feeling, how you're coping, and kill every expectation of them understanding.
Did you have like any type of cloud of witness that someone in your life or your village that went through this that was able to help you guys get through it, or you really just had each other to lean on to navigate through these
We
multiple
were we
losses?
were we were blessed with a cloud of witnesses that were actually experiencing the same thing.
Oh, wow.
They were experiencing infertility, and so that was our village. It was small. It was maybe like one or two other couples that literally were experiencing infertility, and so we were literally all there for each other.
That's
um,
awesome.
and it was I honestly think that that was God's saving grace in human form, because we were, like I said, we were young, we had just gotten married, and we were really still trying to figure this thing out.
Mm-hmm.
And the other two couples had been married for, maybe like 4, 5, 6 years or what have you, and so they were a little further along. But they helped us to kind of navigate through our feelings and our emotions, and we were able to be honest with them like how we feel, and they sit there and be like, yo, I totally get it, I was there,
Right, right,
without
right.
any judgment or any shame or what have you. And so they were able to kind of comfort us through that time. um and then it's funny that you mentioned that, because it seemed like our cloud of witnesses, after a while, we me and my wife, we pray. We pray. We pray for other people. We pray for our families. We pray for ourselves. We some praying people.
Uh-huh.
So of course, within this cloud of witnesses, we were literally praying for our friends, like, Lord, do it for them, do it for them, do it for them. And he did it.
I
And
love
now we're like, okay, grandma's kids.
like
Whew,
God.
our turn is coming.
Woo-hoo.
It's coming.
Like Lord.
While you're in the neighborhood, my
Right, while you're
boy
in the
is right
neighborhood,
here.
Lord.
I'm right here, just to
Don't forget
waiting.
about the Fords
Just
while you're
don't
at
forget
it.
about us. Especially, and it takes virtually nothing to be able to pray for somebody else
Right.
when it comes from your heart. But after a while, it's just like, okay, God, you gave it to them now. Now what now?
But then
Am I
that
supposed
fear
to just
too.
say,
Yeah,
yeah,
that fear from what you experienced in the past is like you can have all the faith in the world, but sometimes that fear does creep up, especially when you experience it not once, not twice, but three times. And to have twins and neither one of them. So I can understand, like, a lot of times what I feel like, and because I'm a woman of faith, but I feel like a lot of times people, and I can understand what you're saying with the humiliation and not wanting to talk about it anymore. People seem to think like, well, you're supposed to have faith, you're supposed to just trust God. But when you experience that human side, sometimes it gets in the way. So it is hard to pray for yourself. You're just like, well, can somebody pray for us? While we praying for
yeah,
y'all pray for us.
yeah, yeah. And I had to be extremely careful. Um, this There was a season, and it felt like it lasted for years. There was a season where folks that knew of what we went through all of a sudden wanted to start praying for us, and I was like, wait, now hold on a sec,
What y'all praying
because
for?
what are you praying for? Because what I'm praying for over my home, I don't want you to cancel that out. Because what we really, really, really need is,
Wisdom.
number one, we need peace of mind. If we don't get any understanding of the situation, we need peace of mind, and we need to be able to trust God.
Pray
Don't
that
sit
the
here and
Lord's will be
prophesy.
done.
Don't
Praise
sit
the
here and
Lord.
prophesy a baby's on the way because
And then the Lord didn't say that.
right. If you're saying that just to appease, don't try it. Please don't try it. Because my wife will tell anybody I give straight poker face because I don't play with the prophetic. I believe that God is a still speaking God. And I've heard him speak in a still small voice to me, and I've heard him speak through somebody else. And so when you've heard God speak enough and
That's
you've
it.
trained your ear to be able to hear the voice of God, I know when you trying it. I
You
know
just
when
trying to
you're
see him
shooting in the
prophetically.
dark. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And then there are some times where the Lord will just absolutely surprise me. And I'm just like, okay, but the key is that whatever it is that you've heard, if you can commit that to prayer when you get home,
Mm-hmm.
the Lord will tell you, you know, what's what and what's not. And
Right.
I just don't think that he would have for us to be deceived. So, you know, that season was just really, really, really critical leading up to Rain.
Mm. Now, how many years after did Rain's beautiful self appear?
So we had experienced the last loss in 2015
Mm-hmm.
and Rain popped up in 2017. And I say popped up because we were literally minding our own business. Just
Enjoying this marital bliss.
we're married. We let's travel, let's enjoy, let's vacation, save up this money, go somewhere, have fun, enjoy each other. And there was a Sunday that my bishop took a minute to speak a prophetic word over my wife and saying
Mm.
that there was a blockage and the Lord just removed it.
Oof.
And we were just like, you know, after hearing years and years of stuff being said to us, like, you know, the next one's going to be a girl, the next one's going to be a boy. We just sitting there like, okay, okay, okay. But for some reason, like I don't think my wife and I admitted it to each other till weeks after, like there was something that was literally like charged in our spirit and it just felt different. So we had nothing to lose at that moment. Like
Mm-hmm.
we were just all out of emotional passes. Like we ain't got nothing to lose. Let's just trust God. Let's just
That's it.
believe like this is actually him. And you know, and this is the man of God that we sit under. So we trust the voice of God through him.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just decided to just go by faith and it's like, okay, okay, okay. Days later, my wife started complaining a lot about feeling tired. Now, my wife,
You
I don't
said
know if
days later?
days later, she just complained about being tired. Now, my wife has, as I have to explain to her all of the time from a husband's perspective, the word tired from a woman can be discerned many different ways. In my wife's case, you know, she had some health issues, what have you. She has lupus. And so there's a certain kind of tired that I hear when she's not feeling well. And then there's a
Mm-hmm.
certain kind of tired that I hear when she's actually really, really sleepy or exhausted. And then there's another kind of tired that I hear when there are unexplained events going on through her body that she just does not know what's going on.
Right.
So I'm listening as a husband to try to figure out why does she keep saying she's tired. Now, you slept in late. You didn't get up till about 11 or so. You went to bed early, fell asleep on me, went to bed early, and you're still tired. You got more sleep than me, and you're still. I said, okay, I'm gonna give this a few days. Sure enough, it went from being tired to being zapped. I said, I'm sorry, what? You feel what? Zapped? I mean, like pregnant zapped?
Completed.
And she was like, no, I'm not pregnant. No, I'm not pregnant. I was like, I bet you are. I
I bet
bet
you
you are.
are. Go get that test, girl.
So, oh my God, I had to beg her for weeks.
No,
Go be
sir.
on a stick. Please go be on a stick. Because I am sick of hearing that you are tired and you was up, and I'm the one getting up to go to work. Like, what is going on? So that, you know, and me and my wife kid like that because we're best friends. So we'll get on each other's nerves in a heartbeat. Finally, one morning, I had reminded her, I was like, the moment you get up, please do what I requested of you.
Right.
She said, okay, I'm about to go do it now. I get a call 5 minutes later, and she's literally on it. She FaceTimed me, and she's literally on the phone looking like this, like, yo, this stick lit up within seconds. I said, I told you!
Like, I
told you. And she was just in disbelief. She was like, this ain't real.
I can imagine though.
This ain't real. This ain't real. And it is so crazy because it's very much what you had just spoken about in terms of fear. When you have a chain of events happen to you over and over and over again, you might not be traumatized to the point where you got to commit yourself to an insane asylum.
Right.
But in your mind, you have had to train yourself to think the opposite, to save yourself of the disappointment.
Right.
That is fear as well.
Right.
And so, you know, I'm just like, you know, we'll do another one if you think that one's a fluke. She calls me back minutes later. She was like, that one lit up even faster. I said, Ebony, you're pregnant.
Like good and pregnant.
Good and pregnant. And then she starts opening up about how she was feeling certain things in her body. And I was like, well, you left all of that out. She was like, these are symptoms I should not be feeling right now. Now, it wasn't to the point where it was like morning sickness yet, but it was just like, you know, women know internally in their body when something's off.
Right.
You know, there's certain stretchings and things of that nature going on. So, and it was so weird. I don't tell too many people, but I really think it was funny because 2 weeks before we went to a scream park that had like 4 different haunted houses or what have you, and she called herself trying to go because she never experienced that. And when she found out she was pregnant, I felt so bad because I'm thinking back to that night, like she was screaming her head off. She could have been under all types of stress, like. Lord Jesus, what did I do? But neither one of us knew. Yeah. And it explains why my daughter is so jumpy.
I saw the video for her pre-birthday celebration, and poor baby was around like
yeah, now she's a strong one, but when it comes to like loud noises and folks stuff popping out at her, she's a gump. And I get it. But so, you know, finding out that we were pregnant, and we decided that we were just not going to announce anything. We weren't going to announce anything. We were going to tell immediate family, close friends. And because I'm a gospel artist and, you know, my wife travels with me to, you know, sing certain places or what have you, I didn't allow her to do any of that. I was like, you're staying your butt in the house.
I know that's right.
And you're not going anywhere unless it's an appointment or somewhere you have to go or it's church. Now, of course, the church knew or what have you, but we just chose to not disclose it to the public. And I figured in my mind that you want different results, you do something different. And so I felt like to save us, and partially, this was partially out of fear, to be quite honest, to really save us any further embarrassment or humiliation as a man, I told my wife, we're not making an announcement. We are not. We're just not doing it. We're not doing it. And, you know, kicking and screaming, and I get it, but I was like, I need to protect my home. Because if anything should happen, then at least we know the close quarters know and understand, and we don't have to try to have answers for the whole world and have to tell them to mind their business.
And everywhere you go, they're asking you about it, which kind of pulls the scab off the wound. It's like it doesn't give you time to ever heal because everywhere you go, somebody's asking you about it. So
Yeah.
totally understand.
Yeah. So at that point, we were able to hold it for about a good 5 to 6 months. I had a single release concert, and I finally, on a whim, just haphazardly, just, well, not haphazardly, but just casually, to see if anybody would catch it. Just expansions on the way to my home, and the crowd erupts, and I'm like, oh, they got it. Well, okay. So it's out there now. So we made an announcement on we had made an announcement on March 15th, 2018,
Oh
not
wow.
knowing that 10 days later
I was ready
Rain
to
was
say
going to
because
be
her
making her
birthday's next week, right?
Mhm. Not knowing 10 days later Rain would make her entrance into the world.
Mm.
And it was on the reason why she came early was because my wife had a very healthy pregnancy, very healthy. Like, excuse me, I'm sorry, no issues, no problems. She was watching what she was eating. I mean, very healthy pregnancy. Rain was doing great. I went to every single appointment just to double check and make sure. I had my mom there at most appointments, and we were just really holding, Ebony accountable to make sure she was eating right, drinking
Mhm.
enough water, things of that nature. And then we have a baby moon, thanks to Stellars. My group and I had to perform at Stellars. Um, we had a little baby moon, and then things started spinning out of control very quickly. So while we were in Vegas, my wife started getting very, very, very sick.
Mm.
And we were only there for a few days. So, needs to say, we come back. She's already contacted the doctors, and the doctors are like, as soon as you land, you come straight here. We went straight to the hospital, and we found out that my wife was developing preeclampsia and
Oh wow.
had something else called HELP syndrome. And they were saying, but we think that we can keep you pregnant. We think that you should be fine. We can keep you pregnant for maybe like 1 or 2 more months, and then I think you'll be good to go.
For the
It went
listeners, can you explain what is HELP syndrome?
so HELP syndrome. So I'm not really, if I'm not mistaken, it's a very rare condition that attacks the organs in your body. So
Is that
her
like
her liver was failing, and her kidneys were failing,
wow.
and her enzymes were like through the roof.
Now is that a result from lupus or is it something totally separated?
That's a good question. I think it was something totally separated. I think it kind of was attached to her preeclampsia, but I think because she had lupus, it might have opened the door for
Cleared
her
it
to
up.
have help help
Mhm.
syndrome. Um, So they're explaining all of this to us, and they're like, okay, well, we can keep you pregnant for maybe like 1 or 2 months, but you're gonna have to stay in the hospital. So they told us that they keep her pregnant for 2 more months, maybe a little bit beyond. She would have to stay in the hospital, so she would have to be a resident of the hospital.
In Vegas.
And we were like, okay, well, anything that would be in Rain's best interest, and also my wife. Um, and then like 10 minutes later, they come rushing in. They're like, oh, you got to have your baby now. And I remember being on the phone with my sister, kind of trying to explain to her what was going on and what they had just said. And then they rushed into that room and said, okay, you have to have your baby today. It was almost like slow-mo. I mean, my whole world just and I was like, oh my goodness. So of course I automatically grabbed for my wife's hand because she's about to lose it.
How many
And
weeks was she at this time?
she was 26 weeks.
Wow.
26 weeks. And I in my mind I'm just like, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, this can't be happening. This can't be happening. And then I had to, of course, as a man, I had to start making phone calls. Like, okay, baby, who do you want me to call? Meanwhile, they're like already like trying to rush her and prep her for emergency emergency C-section. And I was like, is there anybody that I left out? Is there anybody that I should have called? She was like, no, I think that's it. So, long story short, everybody that could flocked up to the hospital. Oh, um, everybody flocked up to the hospital, and my daughter was born that night. And of course, I was on pins and needles because I was waiting to hear how my wife and child were doing. And they finally came and told me that my child is doing great. She's stable. Her vitals are stable. And my wife is doing great. Her vitals are stable. And that my daughter weighed 1 pound and 15 ounces. And I was like, what?
That tiny little peanut.
1 pound and 15 ounces? And
My
in my mind,
daughter
I'm
was
like,
1 pound 6 ounces.
now all these foot long steak and cheeses that my wife had been asking for this whole entire, I mean, literally, she had to have it 3 to 4 times a week or she was sick. You mean
Wow.
to tell me I've been feeding her all this steak? And she's this small, but of course in my mind I'm like, God, I thank you. You brought her into the world safe and sound. And not only was she brought into the world safe and sound, she was kicking, she was moving her arms. Now these were things that they said she should not be able to do. They even told me that when they tried to go in there and get her, they ran from the nurses. They literally had to like be careful pulling her out because she was trying to get away.
Oh, wow.
I said, my daughter's a fighter.
Like a whole fighter.
My daughter is a fighter. And I lie to you not, within our 3-month NICU stay, I've watched my daughter defy such odds. She was not supposed to be able to come out of that womb breathing on her own, but she was breathing on her own.
Wow.
They had to intubate her for a procedure's sake,
Right.
which don't get me started about that. But if my child is breathing, then wait till she starts having an issue to try to help her.
Right.
Don't. But nonetheless, she was breathing and she was lively. So of course I got a chance to see her that night, and her legs were just kicking, and I was like, yo, she's a fighter. She literally is going to fight her way out of here. And that's exactly what Rain did. She reached every milestone, and it wasn't always easy. Some
Right.
stuff she was a little stubborn on, like once the feeding came, what have you. But I had no reason to doubt that she was a miracle from inception.
Now, she was in the NICU in Vegas, but that's not home for you, right?
No, so we actually made it home before my wife had Rain.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Oh, okay. I was
We
gonna
all
say,
went to the
how
hospital.
was that?
We almost went to the hospital in Vegas because my wife was just not like she wasn't gravely sick, but it just wasn't getting any better. Like it wouldn't shake. And
Hmm.
so we were starting to get concerned. I think we had maybe like 1 or 2 more days before we left. It kind of started I was out trying to get whatever I could to kind of make her comfortable or to kind of help ease what was going on. We were just trying different things. And at the point that we realized she wasn't going to shake it, it was literally almost time to go home.
Mm.
So by the time she got home, we went straight to the hospital. And that's when, that's when we found out Rain was gonna have to.
On
Now
you.
um they had to do the emergency C-section in order to save both of their lives.
Right.
And I'm extremely grateful for that because I'm not even sure where I would be in my mind if anything happened to either one of them at the same time.
Right. Right.
Um,
Because with
so
the preeclampsia, they have to take the baby out.
yeah,
How did
yeah.
your wife do? Did she started to heal, and how were you able to navigate making sure she was healing? Because with the preeclampsia, that means she wasn't well enough to really go see Rain and be there for her. So how were you able to navigate making sure that your newborn preemie is okay and that your wife's health is okay. Like, how was that on you?
So it was very it was quite heavy. It was quite heavy that I probably let on for a lot of my friends and a lot of my family. Outwardly, I was really rejoicing that both of them made it through, but I was extremely nervous because again, this is a whole brand new situation. You know, my wife has actually had a child that is living and fighting for her life. So, it's a brand new situation. Of course, I did a lot of fussing at my wife, and I was like, "You better stay in that bed, and you better get yourself together and get well, because our daughter is literally fighting for her life in a good way. She's you know growing by leaps and bounds, and it didn't take Ebony long to rebound from the
Hmm.
eclampsia, to the point that they would actually release her to from the hospital maybe about a week later.
Hmm.
um, Now I did notice one thing that, so I didn't know about preeclampsia prior to that, and I still really didn't because of the trauma of that situation. Like, the only thing I was really focused on was just making sure Ebony was alive and okay, and making sure my daughter was okay. So I didn't really delve too deep into the preeclampsia. But once my wife got home, I started to kind of get a feel for how serious preeclampsia is, because she did wind up back in the hospital for a couple of days because her blood pressure just was sky high and shot through the roof, and she just wasn't feeling as well anymore. And she was pretty lucky to get back on the labor and delivery floor to see
See
her,
the baby, yeah.
to see Rain. um so it was really interesting trying to navigate that. Like I said, it was just a brand new situation. um I don't think anybody could have ever written a manual for it. It was just literally like a day by day type thing. Like, God, I'm trusting you with this day.
Right,
Help me to
right.
navigate. Even if I had to take it hour by hour, minute by minute, I was always checking up on Rain. I was always checking up on Ebony, and just trying to make sure that, they were being done right in the
Right.
hospital,
That's a
because
that's
I
a
still had to work. There were some days I took off, but I still had to work. Food still had to be on the table.
right.
So,
When they get home,
but
lights still need to be on. We still need a home.
yeah, but once I left work, it was literally like my life for those 3 months were literally work, hospital, like, just without a doubt. Like, it was every single day. I think we maybe only stayed home or went straight home or was home maybe about 2 or 3 days out of those 3 months,
Wow.
because we wanted to be by our daughter's side, and we wanted to make sure
I love
that she was receiving the care that she deserved. And Rain was like, literally, like, nurses were fighting over who's going to take care of Rain,
Oh, that's
during their
awesome.
shift and stuff. Like, Rain was just, she was the one.
She was
And
the superstar in the NICU.
yeah, like, she started developing a little personality and a little attitude in the NICU, and everybody just really, really, really loved her.
I love it.
It felt amazing, because every time we walked in, it's like, hey, your girl is, she on it today, or she ain't really feeling like people today. She might just want to see her parents, but so
I love it. I'm glad that you mentioned the staff because not everybody gets that type of treatment and that type of love, especially when they're babies. I've heard some pretty horrific stories concerning the NICU and some of the clinical team and what some moms have experienced. So I'm glad that you guys had a great team and great care team because that helps. It's
yeah,
already a rough situation, but to not have a good care team, that just adds more trauma and more stress. I always say like the biggest blow for the NICU for most parents is the fact that you have to leave your baby in the hospital and go home. I have
yeah.
to say for you, was it different because you were just more so elated that you have a living baby? Like how was that thought that I have to leave my baby in the hospital? How was that thought for you?
I was very much, well, I can speak for the both of us because we talked about it all the time. Me and my wife, we were very much ready for Rain to come home. We knew that she had a long journey ahead of her. Being born at 1 pound and 15 ounces still makes me cringe because I'm like, yo, she was small,
Like
like small, small.
in the palm of your hand, you can
In
like
the
cup her little legs, right?
Yeah, but to
Mhm.
watch her, to be up there every day, and I'll say this for the record, I took such pride in making sure that her mother and her father were there at the
Oh,
NICU.
that's
Because there's this amongst our community. It's very, very, very unfortunate amongst our community. They do make some pretty, I don't want to say accurate, but the guesses can be pretty disturbing when it comes to the advocacy of African American parents for their children. They'll just leave them to the hospital, say, okay, fix what's wrong with them, and
It's
then call
nothing
me
but the
when
head,
we ready to
right?
be picked up. But we really wanted to be there every step of the way, and we wanted to be in the doctors and nurses' faces, letting them know she don't have just one parent. She got two parents.
I
Okay.
love
She has a
that.
mother and a father. So either one of us can get information. Anybody outside of that? No, sir. No, ma'am. Let us know what's going on. And we want updates every single day. If there's something that we need to do, let us know.
Right.
So we were very, we were very not strong, but we were solid in our communication with certain nurses that we knew were going to take care of her on certain days. And we've even developed some relationships with some of the nurses. We still have relationships with a few of the nurses that took care of her in the NICU.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
they
that's
follow
nice.
they follow her on Instagram. They're at her birthday parties. They're like in her pics, commenting. Just talking about how beautiful Rain is growing up to be. And so it was really important for me to be there as a man because there's a stigma that unfortunately for us men, sometimes we just really don't take the responsibility too seriously, and we're just not as
Mhm.
visible. That's the word I
Mhm.
was looking for. We're not as
Right.
visible. But
Right.
as for
Right.
me, I was
You made
like I
your
said,
presence known.
I'm here now. I still had things going on at home. I had, rehearsals with my singers and things of that nature, and services and stuff to play for and go to or what have you. But I'm stopping at the hospital first. I don't care if
Right.
I'm with my daughter an hour and a half and
You're
got
gonna
to
make
sit
sure
through rush hour traffic. I'm going to be there at that hospital because I need an update. I need to lay eyes on my daughter. I need for her to see me
and hear your voice.
and hear my voice.
I love
and
it.
and and that was just really really important to me. So my NICU stay was it was just really empowering.
Oh,
It was scary at the
wow.
moment, but it was
Mhm.
very, very, very empowering because it helped me to realize how important it is to um, to make sure that your kids know your voice from the moment that they open from the moment that they open their eyes. And that might sound deep and cliche-ish or what have you, but I wanted to know, I wanted Rain to know that her mother and her father are there with them. And I really felt like Rain had the strength of my wife and I combined. We would just always say, like, she's strong just like her parents,
I
and
love
we
it.
wanted to make sure that she maintained that strength. We wanted to make sure that she knew, her cognitive brain, obviously, and her memory stuff, all of that was still developing, but we never wanted to miss a moment where
Mhm.
she would look up and not see us.
Right.
So, my wife's a stay-at-home, but she was up at the hospital during the day. She was
I
up there
hear
during the
you.
day. Like, she would be up there by like 1 or 2,
Mhm.
and I would just follow closely behind, and we would both just be there. So
And
it
you
was scary, mixed emotions, just scary, but it was empowering as well.
and you were able to do like the skin to skin. How was that for the first time holding
Oh
her,
my gosh.
arms
I
holding a little baby?
melted like an ice cube. It was so, first of all, I was scared. I was
I can
scared because
imagine.
the first thing they asked me to do was change your diaper. And I was like, you want me to do what? You want me to do what? I was like, here, let me show you how to do it. I saw them do it for the first time, and I was just like, I don't think
And she's so tiny too. It's like,
she's
oh,
so
that hurt
tiny.
her.
And I'm so aggressive with my hands. Like, how am I supposed to do this? But I was able to develop the gentle touch and just, once I had the, you got the gloves on and stuff because you can't do skin to skin until, they reach a certain milestone and certain things have developed in terms of their skin and their pigments and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So, but once I finally was able to do skin to skin, it was like, oh, I can't describe it. It was heaven. Like I would have her on my chest and I would just start singing and
Aww.
talking to her, and we would just be having crazy conversations. And I know she thought her dad was crazy. She still thinks I'm goofy, and she still thinks that I'm silly because she'll laugh at it. I'll be telling Rain now, like, no, stop, don't do that. And she'll be laughing. I'm like, why are you laughing?
That's my
It's
husband and my
funny.
kids.
You just think I'm funny. You just think I'm funny.
Everything my husband says, the kids laugh. And I'm like, he's serious this time.
Right. So I literally have to like scare Rain. Be like, what are you doing over there? Like come around the corner or something to kind of get her attention. It's so hilarious.
Let you know let her know you're serious. How was it bringing her home? Did you guys? I always ask people because surprisingly, I've only heard one person say they had a party. I was like, did you guys have like a party or family get together? I heard one person say they had a really big party when their preemie came home, and I was like, you're brave.
Listen, the way I was feeling, I was so on top of the world. I would have loved to have a party, but I knew that was not going to be wise on my part.
Mm-hmm.
And for Rain's, safety or what have you. But bringing her home Father's Day weekend of 2018
Is that when she came home?
was the absolute best gift ever. So I still remember how everything happened because, Rain had been hitting her milestones and she had been eating and, drinking a bottle on a consistent basis. And now, and they were just kind of giving us projections like, your daughter really could be going home next week. And we would kind of get our hopes up and then she would kind of like de-stat here and there. And they was like, no, I think we probably gonna have to hold her for a little longer. Them D-stats was kind of like worrying our patients a little bit and kind of making us nervous, while she was asleep or what have you. But long story short, that week we were told that she could possibly come home, and I told my boss, I was like, listen, I'm gonna need a week off because my daughter's about to come home. And the time that I asked for off was unusual because I asked for a week off, but I was expecting her to come at the start of the week that I was off, but she didn't really get home to like the middle of the week that I was off,
So you missed
which
some
was
days.
okay.
Yeah.
It was a little disappointing on my end because I'm like, dang, I like this is all the time I'll get to have with her like all day during the day or what have you. But I remember there was one particular night that me and Ebony this was probably would have been the fourth night that we would have stayed home. We were kind of decompressing and we were like, we had called the hospital and got an update. We were just like, okay, well, we'll be up, we'll be at the hospital like around 8 or so. We're just gonna come a little later. But we're gonna kind of rest right now because we're a little tired. We got settled and we started binge watching a particular series called 13 Reasons Why on Netflix. And it's so crazy that I remember that because I'll never forget the moment. Like that series literally like captivates you. But we got a phone call saying, okay, your baby's ready for pickup. She could come home. And we like, oh, we on the way. We on the way. So we stopped everything. We was like, okay, we'll come now. We'll come now.
Oh wow.
Of course.
Just sudden like that? Wow.
Just sudden, like, okay, she's good to go. You want to bring some clothes? It's like, yeah, we got some clothes. We got some clothes. So of course I'm carrying my little car seat to the car, and I got my little big man shirt on, like, my daughter's coming home. My daughter's coming home. Meanwhile, I'm trying to text everybody that I can before I got on the road. Rain is coming home tonight. Rain is coming home tonight. And the moment we got her home, we were just like, Rain, this is your home. Like, things will never be the same. Now, we had a one-bedroom condo.
Mm-hmm.
We had a one-bedroom condo. And me and my wife were completely satisfied with the one bedroom condo because it was just us.
Right.
Man, bringing a baby in there, it was just like,
All
yo,
the things
things
were
have
just small.
literally changed. We automatically started thinking, oh, we're gonna have to get a 2 bedroom. We're gonna have to get a 2 bedroom. Like it was like like a sigh of relief. Oh, our baby's home. Now that was also the night that neither one of us got any ounce of sleep
I
because
can imagine.
every move she made, we was like,
The funny thing is that both of you are doing it.
I mean, sleeping with one eye open, we could barely keep our eyes on the TV, barely keep our eyes open. It was just so funny. Like the first few minutes, we just did not. Now, when babies are young like that, their little nervous system be going off and they be flinching and stuff. And we was just like, what's going on here? So she was laid right in between us. We had her in a little bassinet that we could put on the bed, like right in between us. And
Hmm.
she was sleeping very comfortably. And I thought it was so cute that she loved to sleep on her stomach. And the nurses told us like her sleeping on her stomach was like the most comfortable for her. So to see her sleep on her stomach at home, it was just like, oh, she's so cute. She's so cute. And we both getting tired and sleepy. We was like, no, we can't go to sleep. No, we can't go. No,
What?
we can't go to sleep. So, of course, me going back was tough
Oh,
because I was so sleep deprived, but I had such a huge smile on my face because for the first time, we were able to literally bring a child home
I love
and
it.
not have to deal or cope with the heartache of leaving the hospital without a child. Now, of course, leaving our child in the NICU every night, it got difficult some nights because we're like, man, we ready for her to come home. But the moment she came home, it was just like our whole world was complete. Like our home was complete. Um, and it felt amazing. It felt
Especially
amazing.
after having recurring pregnancy loss. Now,
Mhm.
did they say, now I know you mentioned that they never told you why, and I know you mentioned that your wife had lupus. They never associated the two. Did she have lupus when she was going through the pregnancy loss, or did she find out after the fact?
So she actually found out that she had lupus during our first pregnancy.
Oh,
In 2013, they had discovered that she had lupus and they started giving her medicines for that or what have you. But the stillborn loss was not attributed to lupus.
oh, okay. Because usually
It
with
was
lupus,
actually
like one of the common things is recurrent pregnancy loss, and the fact that you guys experienced that 3 times, it just wonders did they ever say anything about that. But the fact that after experiencing that 3 times, you get to bring little Rain home, and I love that you guys named her. What's her name? I'll let you go ahead and say it. Proud
Rain
Papa.
Victoria. Rain Victoria Ford.
Oh, such a proud dad. I love it. And how is she today? I follow you guys on Instagram and she is just so beautiful. She is such a beautiful little girl.
He is so full of personality. Personality. I'm tripping over my words to try not to think about it too hard and get all glassy eyed and stuff. But she is the most amazing, precious little gift that there's not a day that goes by that me and Ebony just stop what we're doing and we're just like, yo, we have a whole toddler. We have a whole toddler. Just look at her. Just look at her. And it's amazing to be able to look in her face and see me, my mother, my sister, a little bit of Ebony, a little bit of Ebony's mother in her. Sometimes it just depends
I was
on
gonna say
how
she
the
looks a
light hits
lot
her
like you.
face.
She looks a lot like you.
And then to look into her eye, oh my gosh, there's no feeling in the world that can match her gazing at me, like staring me dead in my eyes,
Oh,
whether it's for like approval or affection or even if she just wants something, like her making eye contact with me, like it literally does something to my soul.
Oh,
literally.
Dad. She is for real a daddy's girl.
She
Oh.
is a daddy's girl. And I everybody kept saying it, and I'm just like, yo, I don't think she's gonna be that attached to me. I really think she's gonna be attached to Ebony because she gets to spend more time with her. Like, and this was like pre-COVID, like when I was going to work and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I just always felt like she would cling more to Ebony, but she really does. She really does hang on to me. And it's just it's such an amazing feeling. Being a father has to be by far one of the greatest accomplishments. I don't have to win an award for my music. I don't even have to be asked to sing anywhere. I don't have to, although I enjoy that stuff and that, it it really it really satisfies the passion that I have for music. It'll never trump the satisfaction and the fulfillment that I get out of being Rain's father.
Now,
And
would you? Mm-hmm.
oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. I'm sorry.
No, and no, finish your thought. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying, and to know that she's come through so much health wise, and she's just so strong. Like I just see so much of myself and my wife in her,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of strength and being able to champion and defy the odds. And every time the doctor said, "Well, she ain't gonna be able to do this. She's not gonna be able to do that. Just expect it." And we're like, "Okay, that's cute. Um,
But
Thanks
not
for
this.
your opinion, but I really don't think that's going to be the case because Rain is just she's doing the complete opposite. You can't see it.
Right, right. Now, would you say the recurring pregnancy loss, did it give you, did it make you appreciate and value being a father even more, or you feel like you just was going to be off the chain, a spectacular dad regardless?
Um, honestly, don't know. I don't know. Our experiences, although they weren't unique because there are a lot of people that could identify with them, I really feel like all the love that I had in my heart for all of the other children that I had lost, I was determined to just pour out onto Rain because she was
Mm,
she was here. And not to say that they mean any less. Um
absolutely.
I just I'm sorry, I need my computer charger. I don't think that um I don't think they'll get any less love ever because they'll just never be forgotten. They'll never be forgotten. But Rain is here in the flesh, and I vowed to give her everything that I got.
I love it.
While she's here, she'll never have to experience um she'll never have to experience a lack of love, affection, approval. She'll never have to experience any of that because her mother and her father have come through way too much to not not be able to give her what she needs and then some,
Right.
go above and beyond. And Rain is just a sweet little girl. She's just really like it's just hard not to love her. It's hard. It's
But she's
hard.
your baby too.
Yeah, like she's my baby.
Now, you said that she had some health scares, and I just know this only from, speaking with Ebony, but how did you handle um just her health scares post NICU? Because you're not only just a NICU dad and a pregnancy loss dad, but you're also a PICU dad.
Mhm.
How was that for you?
It was really scary. It was really challenging, mentally and emotionally. Physically, I was game because, Rain just from the onset, she just always had, um, sh- she just always had to have to fight for, for her health. And I knew that she would make it through, but it was scary all at the same time because you had these different things developing, like with her lungs, and that she's still growing in certain areas. So it was just really kind of it was something that we had to take like moment by moment. Like we just
Mhm.
had to, in our minds, we just had to be prepared. Like if Rain's breathing funny, we're going to the hospital. Or
Right.
if we don't have the stuff at home, if we don't have the means at home, which I'm thankful after a while, we kind of started getting working a little smarter, getting
Hmm.
some resources here at home. And if the resources at home don't work, then we know to go to the hospital. But it was challenging. There were some days where we just felt like it would never end. Um,
Do you
there
want
were
to talk
some,
about what happened with Rain, just for the listeners who don't know Ebony's story and who hasn't watched the
yeah.
first one?
So Rain had developed a condition in her lungs. She had developed a condition in her lungs due to some intubation and in the NICU. Um, she developed a condition where she had fibromas covering her lungs, and wasn't necessarily difficult for her to breathe, but it made her breathing challenging.
Hmm.
It If she got sick, if she got a cough, if she started contracting, that was a means for us to go to the hospital and get help. She was at very high risk for contracting RSV and croup and pneumonia. There was one time where Rain actually contracted pneumonia like back to back. Um, but we were able to kind of get a head start on it the more that she got it, and was just kind of able to nip it in the bud before it got worse.
Hmm.
Rain had contracted RSV a few times.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
she had, or maybe like once or twice with RSV during the winter time. During the winter months were like the most difficult. She really had to go into isolation because we did not want her to get sick.
Hmm.
A cold, flu, nothing.
Hmm.
Um, her very first Christmas, she actually spent in the hospital due to croup and pneumonia and RSV.
Oh, wow.
And that was extremely difficult for us because it was her first Christmas.
Right.
And that is just not how we wanted her to spend her holiday.
Right.
Um,
Right.
it was a very tough time during that time. But she's had multiple admissions to Children's Hospital for various different things, all concerning her lungs. We were told that, maybe after she's 2 or what have you, that she would kind of start to grow out of it. But those fibromas cover about 70% of her right lung.
Wow.
So it was just a major, major concern for us. And prior to COVID, prior to the pandemic, she had actually begun getting radiation for it because we did not want her to have um, an open, not an open chest, but basically where they would have to crack her chest
Right.
open, get to
Right.
her lung, and snip her lung, and she would only have about 30% of her lung left. There was no way in the world that we were going to allow that.
Right. Right.
So we
Right.
were just like, let's take our chance with the radiation. And with the radiation, they should either stay the same or shrink. And we're happy to hear that they have stayed the same. And Rain has not been to the hospital now one time during this pandemic, with the exception of when all three of us contracted COVID last year
Which is
in
scary, the
October.
fact that she has this lung issue and to get COVID. But what Ebony said, for all the listeners, she was the one doing much better than you two were.
Yes, we were a mess. Like we were a mess. It was an emotional roller coaster. I think physically we were up for the fight because that's our child, but
Right.
emotionally we were running thin because that's just not something that we wanted for our daughter. And I mean, she is just like the cutest little gumdrop. You just wouldn't think that she has these issues. Like I literally, it's crazy because when Rain was like all the way up to when Rain is 2, she's still cute. She is very much still cute. Like I still kiss on her all the time or what have you. But that whole infant stage, like Rain was just like, whoa. She was just like a piece of caramel chocolate. Like Oh my God. Like there was no way in the world that you could just sit there and look at her. Like she was so cute. Like you just wanted to pick her up. Like you just had to pick her up and just be all in her face. And I know she just thought I was just like the craziest. Just looking at my wife like, who did you marry? Who
Like,
is
wow,
this
who is
fool?
this?
Is this thing my father? Like, but for her to be so cute and just so the stuff that she's had to come through, it really makes me emotional because it's like I don't know where kids find the strength to get through this stuff,
But they get
but
through
it
it.
is just amazing to watch and to know that she'll literally play through not feeling well. And it got
Mm.
tricky sometimes because she literally could like keep going, keep a smile on her face, keep playing, keep cooing, keep
And
smiling,
you'll
and
never
stuff
know.
is wrong with her.
Right,
Like,
right,
and so
right.
we're kind of trying to figure out like, okay, is she
Like,
in
how would you even
pain?
know?
Right. And the only way we would know is if we like paid super close attention to how she was breathing or I mean, very seldomly did she fuss. Like she just was not a fussy baby. And if she was fussing, something was wrong. Like either
Hmm.
she was hungry, she was sleepy, or she wasn't feeling well.
Oh, I so love your story. And I hope for all the listeners to go listen to Ebony's episode on Facebook Live because she gives a nice side of the story as well. You guys are just so adorable.
Oh,
And
thank
then
you
to hear your
so
side of it, I'm
much.
like, I know it's never a dull moment in a Ford's house. If you could give any advice to another dad who's experienced the journey that you've experienced, whether just a portion of your story, what kind of advice or words of encouragement could you give a dad who's experienced pregnancy loss, NICU, PICU, or any just one part of that story? Like, what advice or encouragement would you give them?
Man, there's so much, but if I could say one thing, I would want to say this that oftentimes as men, our strength can be defined by what we're able to carry,
Hmm.
but our true strength is really defined by how much we're able to endure.
Mm.
And so, if I had to say anything to the men, it would be that first of all, it is okay to not be okay.
I
It
love
is
that.
it is all right to feel weak at times. It is okay to feel less than sometimes. Now, I'm not saying that the state of feeling less than is okay because you want to be able to reach out to get help from
Right,
counselors, from resources or things of that nature, but it doesn't make you any less of a man because you feel that way.
right,
It
right.
just it makes you human, and every last one of us have those feelings, and we can't ignore how it is that we feel when we experience certain traumas and certain pains. And one thing that I've learned as a man is that when we as men ignore it, it'll show up somewhere else.
It sure
And
will.
so it is very, very, very important to find a means to be able to address the pain and the traumas of the things that you are going through. And it is okay to admit that it is painful. It is okay to admit that it is stressful, um, but be able to find solace in counseling or be able to find solace with a group or a community, I should say, that I know that are of men that have dealt with the same thing.
Hmm.
Um, just know that you're not by yourself. You're not by yourself. There's somebody in this world that is dealing with the same thing or has dealt with the same thing that you have. And you just don't, you don't have to feel alone for the sake of having strength or putting on strength. Um, what you can carry, what you're able to carry can crush you if it gets too heavy.
Right,
And we
right.
don't want it to get to that point. So, it's okay to be open. It's okay to be honest with your spouses or your partners, whoever it is that you're working with to raise kids. It's okay to be open and honest with them. And it's okay to let them know that, this is a bit heavy, but if we get together, let's find a way to get through this.
Right,
And
right.
I'm reminded of a scripture that I love. that really puts all of this into perspective. And it just says the race is not given to the swift or the strong, but it's given to those who are able to endure
To
until
the
the
end.
end.
That's it. I think that is the best advice, being able to endure it to the end. That's the best
Yes.
scripture to give.
Yes, 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 yes.
You don't have to, for one thing, the NICU, anybody going through it is not a race, and you're not going to be able to rush through this no matter how hard you try. I swear,
Right.
it's like I have to say, for me, it was a trying of my patience for real.
Hmm.
Like, for some reason, when I was going into labor, the Holy Spirit just allowed me to know that my daughter was going to be okay, but this process was
Hmm.
for me. And I was like, but God, I won't go through this. But I
Right,
knew
right,
it was
right,
a trying,
right.
but I knew it was going to be a trying of my patience, because as women, we want to be control of everything. We want everything to go the way we want it to go. But the NICU will definitely try your patience like no other experience in life. So I thank you so much. And the
Absolutely.
Fords are also March of Dimes ambassadors. And they're
Yes.
currently doing, is it a fundraiser or a rally?
Yes, we're doing a fundraiser. The Ford family has been selected as 2021 ambassador family for the March for Babies that's upcoming in May of this year. And come to find out, we're like the first African American family to represent this region. And so we're really, really, really excited about that.
Congratulations.
Ebony and Rain are more so the ambassadors for March of Dimes, but as a family, we're ambassadors for this race. Well, not this race, this March for Babies that happens every year. And of course, during the COVID, we've had to change some things or what have you. We can set our miles in, but right now we're doing a fundraiser, and it can be found. If anybody's on Instagram, it can be found on And She Shall Reign. You could go to her Instagram and there's a link tree, and you can find the link where you're able to donate. Right now, I believe we are in first or second place in terms of raising funds um,
Congratulations.
for the fundraiser. But yes, we are accepting all donations. Any donation counts. Um, and we're really excited about this. I Like I said, I love to push and support my wife. Um, as she advocates for maternal health, because she's had to go through it. She walk it out, and she's had to experience it, and so she's become a voice for those who haven't quite figured out how to, or are not sure how to speak up for themselves quite yet. So it's really been it's been amazing being able
And I
to
want you to spell it for them, because rain isn't spelled RAIN. So if you can, and she shall.
right. So And She Shall Reign. Reign is spelled REIGN.
I want to make sure you all find this Instagram page and
Yes.
donate to their march. And I am so excited for you all. I hope you guys get back into first place.
Of course.
And I'm excited for it. And I absolutely love what the Fords are doing in the NICU community, because it's a small yet big community, and it's a tight knit community. And Ebony is definitely a big voice for this community. And I'm just grateful that you were able to step out and actually share and be open and transparent for the dads in this community as well. So thank you for coming and sharing your story for the March of Dads.
Thank you so
I
much for
love it.
having me. My pleasure.
Now, can any dad reach out to you who's hearing your story and just want someone who's been through it to be a community for them? Can they reach out to you any kind of way? How can they
Absolutely.
reach you?
I'm on Facebook, Ryan Vincent Ford. I'm on Instagram, Ryan Vincent Ford. Um, yeah, I primarily am on both of those social mediums. So, feel free to reach out. I'm here. I do the best that I can, from where I am, but I know that it takes support in some cases to really help people break through and to get through as well.
Right.
Somebody We can always use each other. We all need each other at some point. And so any way that I can help or be of assistance, emotionally or mentally, I am here for it.
And you said you're a gospel recording artist. Can they find your music where?
Yes, so primarily, I have a lot of music on YouTube. I do have some music on Apple Music. I belong to a camp called Rhyme and Reason, and they put out a Christmas record last year. So if you were to find me under that name, it might be a little difficult, but I do have music on YouTube, and I'm happy to announce that I'm actually going to be releasing an entire record of my own this summer. So it will be easy to find, and of course, you can follow me on social media to find out more information about my music ministry at Facebook, Ryan Vincent Ford, and Instagram, Ryan Vincent Ford. I'm always posting stuff
Make
about that.
sure you guys go follow him, follow his wife, and she shall reign. I think she changed her name from Ebony Ford to NICU Mama, is it?
Her
Or
Instagram page
Preemie
is
Mama?
now That Preemie Mama. Hmm.
That Preemie Mama, that's right. So make sure you follow her. She's always sharing some beautiful stories and tidbits as far as what's going on with Rain and just some great encouragement that she's doing. She's such a powerful voice for the NICU community. So definitely follow this entire family because they're doing wonderful things in the NICU community. And I just thank you all for tuning in and taking the time to listen to Ryan Vincent Ford's story with Rain Victoria. She's so beautiful. You guys make sure you follow her Instagram page and continue to follow her story. Our little princess, our little internet niece is going to school, so we're so excited.
Yes, yes, yes.
We're excited, but thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, have a good day.